Hello and welcome to coinpicker.us. I've got a massive, probably the biggest single update I've ever done. I'm going to go through all of these items and a few other ones, profit ideas, and I'm going to talk about a rapid business cash flow system. I'm not selling anything separate or anything like that. It's just something that I want people to know about as opposed to investing and trading. But what I'm going to cover quickly, going to go through the crypto market status, crypto market forecast, some interesting projects that are ones that are already have been out there and are doing well, and some new ones. Then I'm going to talk to you about some proprietary projects that nobody really knows about that are really fantastic. That's going to be for the subscribers only. Also for subscribers, I'll check the previous recommendations for profit. And then I think I'm going to see if I can weave in the current financial conditions for U.S. and global markets, which are really important to pay attention to now, because a lot of times the markets will move up and down and won't change everyday life. These kinds of changes will change everyday life. Then I'll get into market forecasts for the subscribers, wave scenarios, timeframes, which gives you the contrasting movements in the market and when you can expect the impact to be visible. And then we'll talk about some of the profit ideas on how to make the most out of what's happening now and for the future. And then I'm going to discuss, just at a top level, the rapid business cash flow system that I think everybody should consider as an investment. It's not directly like, oh, I'm starting a business, I'm going to devote my entire life to it. No, it's you're putting pieces in place just like you would sort of for an investment, but it produces cash flow. So we will go through all of that. I'm not sure quite how long it will take. I'll try to be brief, but stay tuned. Okay, so we're at crypto market status. Basically, one of the reasons why I haven't put out a lot of videos lately is it's just been a narrow range in the market. If we take a look at, this is DXY, what we don't need. We take a look at BTC USD. Let's see here, reload it. Let's see if we've got anything new and different here. Oh, my internet stopped. Oh boy. Just as soon as I pay my whopper high speed fiber download bandwidth bill, they have problems and I don't have any internet access. But I am back solving all the problems just to deliver you some insights into the market that I have. So here we go. Let's get into the crypto market status. Basically, it has been relatively stable. We've been traipsing around between, let's call it 6,000 as the bottom, up to, we had a 10,000 moment, down to 8,000. So it's in that 6,000 to 8,000 range. And I don't think it's going to move very much. And oddly enough, this is relatively positive. Let's contrast what happened with the NASDAQ, which in many ways very similar, except one big difference. The NASDAQ was primarily a US-centric phenomenon. Now, there were outside investors via what would be the equivalent of ADRs in foreign markets, outside money, no doubt about it. But there wasn't the groundswell of the man on the street investing in NASDAQ in Japan and other areas. Although there was some aspect of it, it wasn't quite like the crypto market. One of the things I love about the crypto market is that it has a truly global market where Asians and Americans and Latin Americans and Europeans and Africans, everybody is in the same pool easily without having to go through the ridiculous regulatory hurdles to engage in trading on different markets. But let's take a look at what I've identified here. The NASDAQ crashed from roughly 5,000 down to ballpark 1172, 1,172. Whereas and I'm going ahead and equivalating or making it an equivalent, the 5,000 number to 1172 to the market cap. It is not, in fact, the market cap, but relatively speaking, the NASDAQ market cap would scale with this number. So that's what I've taken the liberty of doing. But look at how interesting this is. When we take a look at this here, where is it? Is that it? Yes. Okay. This is a chart I'd already pulled up. Okay, so this is a NASDAQ composite from Oh, back in the, what is this? Doesn't really tell me. Let's call it. So it's 90, back in 90, all the way up to our present day. And we peaked right at around a little, this is probably not that accurate. It's right at around 5,000, but it may have been 4,700, something like that. Then we took a major karate chop down in, from, what date was that? So February 2000 down to fifth month 2000, back up, and then it took a long time to finally bottom. You could call that an early bottom at 1840, and then it finally bottomed really at a, for all intents and purposes at 1172. Roughly speaking, 18 months later. 18 months later. So in the scheme of things, if you were to just take the linear differences between, we'd be at, let's see, that would be, so we basically crested in December in crypto, as far as I can recall. It may have been January, but in that time frame. So what are we now? 8 months later? No, 10 months later. So if we were to go 10 months out, we'd have to go right around here, okay? Right in this area. So we would be basically dropping from 46 down to 1840. Now that would seem to indicate that we'd have a fairly long way to go down. So roughly call it 650 down to go from here in the next, maybe 8 months. What is that? 6 months. That's what this would seem to presage. However, on a percentage basis, it looks like, as crypto has done with everything, it's faster on the way up, faster on the way down. It has gone all the way to its relative low point. That's what appears to be the case. Well, look what happened with the NASDAQ once it hit its low point. It began a slow climb up. Again, it bottomed when we had another financial crisis. So in 2007, we had another financial crisis. So this was obviously a big financial belly flop. Another financial belly flop, bottomed again, a little higher. And then, of course, it ran up like a banshee here, and we're dropping like a rock. I'll get into that. And it took, how long did it take before it crested? So 15 years, ballpark, almost 15 and a half years before it crested. And keep in mind, you've got to adjust for inflation all this time. So the real inflation adjusted crest would probably be somewhere in this area, something like that, which would take it another 2 more years. But the message I'm bringing out is that obviously if you've held on in the crypto space, which none of my subscribers should have done, because I very openly said, get out. At the 750 billion mark or something like that, I said, everyone, I'm selling out, only keeping placeholding profits, maybe keeping some, some long-term projects, very, very minimal amounts, but I'm selling out. And that was obviously the right move to make. And then I've been trading back in and out, and the trading's been very good. But I wanted to bring this out that we could have actually hit a near-term bottom for the moment. Now, considering that it is a speculative asset and that the other markets are suffering, there's a chance that we could go a little bit lower. But it's held fairly well, and I just wanted to show these percentages are disturbingly accurate right here. Now, I will also want to point out a fantastic aspect about the crypto market, that it is still tradable. Let's look at this. Well, let's see here. This is not what I wanted to show. Okay, I'm going to go here and show you what I was talking about. I don't know if it's actually accurate today. This was accurate when I made this. I made this whole presentation on the October 11th, but I want to show you today. Let's see what we've got today. All right, 10%. I don't consider to be really that tradable at all. Let me see if I can do a view all and see what we can get that's tradable. Assuming I'm using my cell phone for internet access because for some reason Charter Communications. Okay, let's look at in 24 hours. Let's see if they'll give me a read here. Oh, it's still downloading. Okay, well, we'll just manually go through it. I'm not seeing very good trades, but the other day, and on the weekend tends to be a little bit dull in terms of trading. But the other day, was there a double-digit one? There was a double-digit down. Can't benefit too much from that. All right, so we have a 16% up, a couple of over days and weeks. Here's a 35% up with GoChain. Actually, that's enough volume absolutely to trade. So this makes the point. There are still outstanding trading opportunities in the crypto space. Not for buying and holding the majors, but many of the miners are still, the minor crypto or alternative cryptos are still showing, and I say many, that's actually not accurate today, but a few. If you do your research, you can catch these big hits. Now, I'll give you an example of one of the things that I do. I keep a list of some of the exchanges and when they're launching new currencies. And the minute they launch a new currency, I might buy in a little bit for the new cryptocurrency. I might buy in for a little bit. Why? Because it's very regularly you get 20%, just like that. If you do nothing else but sign up for those pointers, you buy in, you get a 20% pop, and you sell out. So if you commit like here's another one, Wabi. Now Wabi is a very significant project, very significant. Up 47%, 48%, up 19%. Extremely significant project. So there are some legitimate projects that can be traded, and that's the main point is that if you're willing to put in the time and use some of the resources out there, there are still the 20 and 30 and 40% per day trades to be found in the crypto space. That is beautiful. While that happens in the bigger market, it's far more rare. So it's still absolutely tradable in there, and that's one of the things I wanted. Now, the institutional potential is still on deck with ETFs. Why is this important? Well, the minute we get institutional investors, and I absolutely believe it will happen. One thing that has taken place just recently was Gary Cohn, who is a former Goldman Sachs director or manager or president or something. He has moved into the position with a blockchain company. Of course, it's somewhat of a degrading scenario for him, but on the other hand, it shows that somebody who is the ultimate insider knows that eventually the blockchain technology and the crypto space is going to supplant much of what we now call Wall Street. That's going to happen, and it's already happening at a relatively brisk pace. So next year we could see blockchain ETFs. We could see around the world those kinds of financial instruments take place, and when that happens, one of the things that, there are two sides to it. There's a positive and a negative. The positive side is there could be significant funding that goes into a variety of, say, the top 10, top 20 of the cryptocurrencies. Okay, you're going to have a couple of flyers out there, the top 100, top 500 that run up and make big moves. You're going to have a few of those. Those will be difficult to find, but they will be there, and those will become sort of life-changing investments as well. But what's also going to happen is there are going to be derivatives on top of the cryptos, because the financial houses make much more money off of the derivatives than they do off of trading the actual instrument. And they can't control the actual cryptos, but they can control the derivatives, which is why you'll notice that Bitcoin futures have been quoted more than Bitcoin. And there is a definite difference between the Bitcoin future and Bitcoins. So I'm not a big favor of derivatives at all, even though I've made my living trading them for quite a while. I know the devil in the details. So the other thing is there is continued financial and data developments in terms of the crypto space that really, really exciting. One that has been a sleeper coin is Skycoin, which is doing something along the lines of Substratum. Both Skycoin and Substratum, yes, they're competitors, but they're really not. They're both, I think, fighting for the same level of freedom. Now, if you're familiar with what's happened, and maybe I can show this to you here. Facebook kicks off conservative pages. I don't know what that is. What's it called? What is it here? Here we go. Leaders, well, they're not really showing it. Basically, Facebook, yes, denies censoring. Facebook has kicked off hundreds, if not thousands, of what they would call conservative sites. And I'm neither conservative nor I'm completely liberty oriented. But the reason I'm pointing that out is that Skycoin, Substratum, those types of projects, they have an impetus to be successful. And I believe that ultimately they will be successful. If there's an impetus for people to support those projects. So if we go to Skycoin, and I haven't looked at it in a long time, I have talked about it though in the past. It's up 5% on a relatively down day. It's holding steady at roughly 3.6 or $3.60. It's got a reasonable market cap. Yeah, it had a spike. It's dropped down. It sort of found a homeostasis level. But in the long term, it's building something incredibly useful. Now, Substratum, I don't know. I've been following them just at a shallow level to see what they're doing. Yeah, that's definitely, the market cap is higher, but they're reaching sort of junk coin status. And yeah, they're trundling at the bottom here, basically. But both of them have, I think, enough capital to continue moving their projects forward. And those are two critically important. And there are other ones. There's, there are several other ones, MadeSafe and many other that are sort of in the same boat. Tron is kind of in that area, but I wouldn't say they're as definitive as these two are. Dash is also doing some very important things. Even though Dash has taken a drubbing, Dash is increasing its presence in the markets that need alternatives to fiat currency. Venezuela, Argentina, in Africa, some of the European countries where the currencies are questionable. Greece has been having issues. Italy is having issues. Turkey's having issues, obviously. So Dash as a currency is making inroads. Of course, Bitcoin is preeminent. But Bitcoin doesn't have the privacy features that Dash does. And Dash is still much faster. Skycoin, Substratum are serving major roles. So those are continued what I call financial data developments. Bitcoin has gotten much better, much more usable. And, of course, Coinbase is broadening out to accept, Ethereum Classic and other projects. But ultimately, there aren't going to be an awful lot of cryptocurrencies serving as cash. The market's only going to be able to support a few, and then maybe a bunch of exchanges to go from the ones that aren't the winners in the central game to the ones that are the winners. And right now, Dash is not, I wouldn't call Dash the winner at all, but it is serving a function, and in certain places, it's doing very, very well. Now, let's talk about the crypto market forecast. Okay. If you take a look at, let's see what we got here. Bitcoin, US dollar. All right, we need the full featured chart here. What we'll see is that we had a formerly strong move down, which is losing its force, and we're getting set up for reversal. Now, those of you who followed me for a while know that in the crypto space, you can stay up here for a while, and you can stay down here for a long time as well. So this isn't, the stochastic RSI doesn't give you enough detail. Now, the CCI, however, is suggesting a reversal is not at hand, but, and we're on a monthly basis. We have some time before that can occur. That's what it's suggesting. We're definitely not in an overbought situation. If anything, the preponderance is for a move up, but not super strong. Right now, this is suggesting that the trend, the downward trend, still has quite a bit of force to go. So that's what this is suggesting. But we are setting up, probably once we get below here, somewhere in this range. Well, not very far down. We're going to be looking for some reversal. I'm not expecting a massive run up, not at all. On a weekly basis, we've got a downward trend in place, which is weakening. So we're looking for the reversal on a weekly basis. And at this point, I wouldn't say we've got a. It looks like we're going to continue either at this level or slightly down. That's what CCI says. The trend is weakening, though. We're looking for a reversal, but no, I wouldn't rush in at all. Now EOS. Let's see if we can reload. Stay on page. You know what? I'm just going to continue. Okay. Now EOS is below trend right now, but it's reversing. It's continuing to gain some momentum, upward momentum, and that's what all of these indicators show. Now this has to reverse. ADX has to reverse. It hasn't reversed yet. CCI is showing that we are going to get a slight upward move, but it could have. It actually could have some legs. Oh boy, this is really annoying. Actually could have some legs, but it's not. At this point, it's not showing super forceful. Otherwise, we'd get a gap here. We don't have a gap, and this would turn up. So it's not super forceful. It's more like a trend. Trend with a positive bias where the moving average and the current price could converge. So, none of these are great trading opportunities. None of them, FYI. And by the way, also those of you who know me, I don't like to trade in the middle at all. Can't stand it. Like to trade up here, like to trade down here, not in the middle. The rewards are limited and the risk is high. So let's take a look at LTC. And LTC I left for dead a long time ago, and that turned out to be largely the right move. Hasn't done very much lately. Tried to make a move here, crested out. You do have a fairly strong indicator that the downward trend is fairly strong in LTC. LTC is looking for a reason to exist. That's the issue. So relative to Bitcoin, it's not really gaining very much. I'm not trading in it at all. But I do want to talk about potentially some other projects that I think are of interest. Notable projects. So Binance Coin, 0x, Loom Network, Eternity, which is somewhat like EOS, and TrueUSD. These are all performing relatively well. Now, Binance Coin is something to absolutely watch because Binance is coming out with a fiat exchange, and they're in an environment in Malta that somewhat protects them and is very friendly towards crypto. Very friendly. So Binance has a lot more maneuverability than many other exchanges, and they have a lot more money. Plus, they're also acting as a venture fund. So it's not that Binance Coin gives you any profit, but it does give you a tie-in with the success of the exchange. Now, one thing I have noticed is that before, Binance and many of the other exchanges were basically turning away people who wanted to sign up. Now they're advertising for people to sign up. They are absolutely begging for customers. That will continue for a while, I think. Until we see another move up where people want to jump in, Binance and many of the other exchanges, OKX and Coinbase, are going to be advertising for business. I also suspect that Binance is going to go more institutional because they're going to realize that's where the really big money is and there's less of a hassle. The 0x platform has been doing fantastic things. I've been a fan of that. Those of you who followed me for a while know that I traded 0x and had some good trades with it. Loom Network, reasonably interesting. Eternity is sort of imposing some EOS-like features with Ethereum, sort of, and TrueUSD could take the place and serve as a pegged USD equivalent, which has been an interesting project. Now, TrueUSD isn't the one to necessarily invest in. It's the True project or the True coin, and that has multiple different applications. TrueUSD just happens to be one of them. But if you take a look at, let's see here. Well, I guess I shut it down. Nope, here it is. If we go here, Binance Coin. All right, so it's a little bit down today. But you'll see it's had some spikes here, and it's settled at a relatively high level. I mean, we're talking over $1 billion market cap. So it's definitely a survivor at this point. Absolutely a survivor. And if you look for 0x. All right. A very substantial market cap. over 375 billion, and you could see there's a fairly healthy move up here. Now it's recaptured to the downside, but a fairly healthy move up here. And again, it's compared to its peak, it's doing better than a lot. It's settled at a little higher than 25% of its peak, something like that. So showing some strength and showing some development. It's definitely a positive project. All righty, let's move on. I think that gives us a crypto market forecast. Okay, investing in crypto developments. I just want to bring up some of the interesting things. Walton has been absolutely working it, even though on an investment basis it's not been that successful lately. It's no surprise all the projects are like that. But take a look at what they've been doing here. This is just for the past, let's see what this report, Q3. Now they had a bunch of summits. This is showing that they're doing PR work and meeting people. Internet of Things Industry Research Council, Walton Chain was honored to be the only blockchain enterprise to have an official opening of Korea blockchains. These things show that they're out there working it on a daily basis. Took part in Seoul Blockchain Summit Expo, cooperation. So they've developed cooperation with a major company, on and on and on and on, important events. And then the technology, the software. They've been building a variety of different software components for their blockchain, P2P network architecture, hardware design, automatic inventory. This is the sign of a project that is just doing the grunt work and the daily work to build up into a major industrial force. So though it is not a good trade at all at this point, I mean, if we take a look at where it is on a trading basis, it's not a great trade right now. I mean, it's been, it was up at a max of 40. I remember buying it or recommending it somewhere around 11, 12, I think, something like that. And actually, even earlier, I had talked about it and been buying it out. But publicly, 11, 12, ran it up to around 40, sold out, nosedived, bounced up a little bit more. Now it's trending, very near the bottom. But at some point, when the market reverses, Walton will benefit. Walton will benefit enormously, I think. Just FYI. Right now, you basically, it's like turning back the clock to 2017. So very, very positive. Okay, SkyChain, which I'd already talked about, has launched a full mesh topology to replace existing internet centralized structure. Now, they did a beautiful video that talked about this where they said, look, the centralized internet structure is no longer working because governments like China and the United States and Europe is imposing an incredibly draconian system where you have to tax the links and you can't link to this and you can't do that. I mean, they're shutting down the internet. It will harm humanity and throw a dark cloak over any level of communication freedom that we've got. It could not be a more serious issue. But SkyChain is already well along the path of creating their mesh topology, which is essentially impossible, they say, to shut down. Now, who knows what really is the case and whether it can exist or can't exist, but at least they're producing and at least they're creating along the path. So if it works, and I'm sure it will because they've got a very sharp technical team, then this could supplant the existing internet architecture. Almost all ISPs, almost all central connection points could be replaced by SkyChain. And that could lead to significant value accruing to SkyChain and also freedom. Of the two, I'll take freedom any day of the week. I don't care how wealthy you are. If you have no freedom, it does you no good. None. And if you're poor, but you're completely free, you're in a much better situation. Now, EOS, and this number is not accurate. It's hard to say what the precise is, but EOS has really been gathering momentum in terms of developing digital applications. 31 listed, probably a lot more than that. But EOS is still, in my opinion, the core application to develop dApps on. The speed, the scalability, the security, everything about it. Really, really fantastic. Tron has not gone silent. They're promoting that they have well over 2,000 transactions per second capability, which allows really to handle most things. You can't handle an exchange at 2,000 transactions per second. EOS can handle an exchange. Even BitShares can handle an exchange. Tron is not at that point, not with 2,000 transactions per second. You could probably get close, but at some point you would start bogging down. But it's positive. It's very positive news. So let's move on to. Okay, you know what? I'm going to continue. I'm going to contain this in this central video because I'm not going to. I'll discuss it and I'll list these for my subscribers in detail. But for those of you watching, probably releasing next month. One has a hard value that will grow over time, meaning when I say a hard value, there is an absolute tradable value for this in the real world. Okay, it's a real world product being tokenized. The token will probably have a much lower value than the real world product. It may go above it. We don't know. And if it goes above it, that's great. But the logic would seem to dictate that it would be lower value than the actual hard product. But what happens is, because you know what the ultimate value is of the delivered hard product, and you have the token value, you can determine when it's the good price and bad price to buy it, and you can decide, you know what, this is a fantastic arbitrage opportunity. I'm going to go ahead and buy a load of these tokens, convert them into the hard product, sell the hard product, and take my portion. But the hard value product is absolutely unique, and the company, in my opinion, is going to become a very significant company, an extremely significant, multi-billion dollar company. I can't broadly speak about it, but my subscribers, I will share the details with you. I don't own any of the tokens. None of the tokens are available. When the tokens are available, I will own those tokens. I'm just letting you know that I am involved. So this is absolutely biased information. I don't make money if you buy tokens at all. I'm in the same boat you are. I'm just telling you what I'm doing. Now, the other one has world-changing technology that will impact how we live and the global power structure. Very complicated to explain. However, it is really exactly what I said. I will tell my subscribers about it. It will probably be available next month. Can't say for certain, but it is one of these projects that's just hard to believe, basically, but it is true as far as I know, and it has been validated. And I think I'll tell my subscribers about it. It's one of these things where potentially the tokens could reach pretty significant value. You're not getting a share of the profits or anything like that. So I don't want to misguide you, but you are involved and supporting the project, and potentially that could translate to a very high value token. And I will tell my subscribers about it. Also, like the other one, I am involved in the project. I don't own any of the tokens. There are no tokens to own yet. I will not directly financially benefit at all from anyone buying tokens. I don't get paid a commission. I don't anything like that. I'm in the same boat. I'm buying tokens with the expectation that potentially they will rise. But both have potential for significant value increases over time because the projects are real and the value is unassailable, meaning nobody can duplicate it. Nobody can duplicate it at this point. Now, that information is only for subscribers, and I will fill that in as soon as I update my page. All right, I'm not going to go into that. Let's see here. Financial market forecasts. Okay. I will share this with the broad YouTube audience before I get into the detailed for my financial market analysis. I had analyzed a long time ago, and I'd spoken about it for even YouTube audience, not my subscribers, that I had seen, and I'm not, I'm no genius here. A lot of people had said the same thing. I think my timing was a little bit more accurate, though. I wasn't saying this for months and months and months. I was saying that long dated, we were getting close to the point where I felt we would decrease. So the broad market weakness where we would get this downturn in NASDAQ, Dow Jones, S&P, that has happened. The prediction, and I made this prediction a long time ago, probably 6-8 months ago or longer, that the U.S. 30-year bond would be well over 3% yield. Well, it's at 3.3% if I am, let me just check here really quickly. We'll show you. It's at 3.3% if I am, oh, wait a minute. I think it's right here. NASDAQ. Nope, doesn't tell us. Let me give you 30-year here. Yeah, 30-year bond, and 3.3%. 3.3%. Look at where it was if we go back 1 year. Bam. 2.68 up to 3.3. In the bond world, that is a monster move. Huge move. And it was as high as 3.4%. So that prediction that I had openly declared that it was going to go over 3%, that was right on the money. And I can see it continuing to go over 3% for a while. Now, the other prediction I had made was that the U.S. dollar, so DXY, which is the U.S. dollar index, failed near 96 as predicted. I want to talk a little bit more about this because it's absolutely, absolutely critical to everything. Okay, here's the, oh boy, this is really getting annoying. Okay, so this is a monthly chart. Now, those of you who've been with me for a while, which I think has been a fair number of you, you know what we're setting up for here. On a monthly basis, so we're at 95.0, what is that, 31, something like that. We're topping out on the stochastic, but you can, now in the currency world, you don't tend to stay up you don't tend to stay at the top of the channel for that long in the currency environment. And sometimes you don't even get to the top of the channel, as you can see here. But we're not at an extreme in the CCI, but we're getting darn close to an extreme in the CCI. We're getting, 40 to 94, in the scheme of things, is not very far. Now, the trend for the climb, which is what we have here, has weakened considerably. So that's combining these two and this level here. Now, we still could go higher, absolutely, but it's suggesting that the reversal is not far off. Now, if we go to a weekly, we have a little bit of a climb, but not much. It doesn't disagree at all with the monthly prediction, which is to say you could go a little higher, but your preponderance is to go lower. So the trend for increase is weak. We're getting near the top of the channel. We're not there yet. We're getting near the top of the channel, and you've definitely topped out, and the stochastics are indicating that we're going to get a rollover. All of this is to say that the prediction about U.S. 30-year well over 3% yield is predicted. That's going to continue. This dollar failed at 96 as predicted. That could continue. Absolutely, could continue to go down. Gold and silver are rising off the base. They have been thumped, but that's sort of what's expected at this time of the year. Gold and silver, I think, are they're a situation where you continue to buy, you continue to hold, and you just accumulate. You just stack it, especially silver. Gold and silver, but especially silver. Silver is the better buy. Soft commodities are rising, as I've been talking about. Let's have a look at, wait a minute here. Yeah. Nope. Where is it? Maybe we can do it. Here we go. Let's go to commodities, and we'll just take a look at wheat and see where wheat has been for a year. Okay? And I've been talking about commodities rising for a while. Let's see where wheat has been for a year. Look at the rise in wheat from 413. Now it peaked at 570 and dropped significantly. It's 518. But we certainly haven't gone below some of the recent lows, and we're not anywhere near the bottom here. Ultimately, and this market is a very confused market because Russia has shut off some wheat exports. The United States is having, it's politically driven. It's a very complicated market. But wheat is it's sort of a good indicator for the total commodity market. It's been a barn burner of a move for wheat. Absolutely barn burner, from roughly a low of 411 up to, you could have pegged out at 575. If you'd have been in options, you'd have been doubling, tripling your money. Futures, you'd have had to hold on for a little while, but you could have absolutely crushed it in futures. So the prediction about soft commodities rising has been spot on. Now, right now, they're still at a low point. So that market it's still, a long-term accumulation phase, because as the stock market drops, commodities, believe it or not, can rise. Most people don't understand how that happens. They think everybody's going to run for the hills. No, commodities can rise. Emerging markets are firmly in a bear market. China, all the emerging markets are firmly in a bear market, and that is already now impacting the United States. So we're going to go with them. And the Fed is continuing to raise rates, which at this point will continue to throttle back the market. Now, what everybody will tell you, and by the way, I'm in disagreement with some very heavy hitters. Jim Rogers, who I am a massive fan of, as I often say, if you disagree with Jim Rogers, you need to change your opinion. And I've often been in that boat. Jim Rogers is saying that gold is going to drop further, silver's going to drop further, and that the U.S. dollar index is going to rocket much higher. I disagree with him. I have actually been disagreeing with him for a little while, and thus far I have been right and he has not been. Now, ultimately, we're both on the same page. We ultimately get to the same spot. It's more an issue of timing. I think we're closer to the wave where the dollar drops and gold and silver rise than he does. He sees both happening just like I do, but he expects there to be a massive rise of the dollar, massive increase in the value of the dollar, and a significant drop in gold and silver. Even commodities he thinks can drop before he buys in. But I am not of that mindset. I think we're closer to the point where gold and silver will be properly valued and the dollar will be properly valued than having the dollar race up again. I don't see that happening unless there is a massive change in the political environment and a massive change in the stock market. And let me show you why I say that. So let's go, wait a minute here. Okay, let me show you where I get this. All right, for one thing, the money supply is continuing to increase. Okay, even though it's slowing down, it's continuing to increase. So this is of July 2018. So it's a little bit late, but nonetheless, you can see it's going up. You don't build the value of your currency by increasing the supply of it. Period, end of discussion. Show it here. Continuing to increase. Now, if I were to see this drop off, which is possible, the M2 money supply, if I were to see this drop off significantly, and bond issuance potentially even reduce, then I could buy into the U.S. dollar dramatically increasing. Now, there's been a dollar short because the interest rates have gone up. The people who borrowed, the countries that borrowed, and the companies that borrowed have had to pay much higher returns on their loans. But that is somewhat temporary and will be resolved. But once that passes, and it is passing, the dollar is going to resume a slide, and it's going to be a significant slide. So that's one aspect of it. I thought I had another slide here to show. This is the NASDAQ. Okay, yeah, let's take a look at this to see. Let me see if I can show this to you. DXY. Okay, so this is the dollar index, and let's see how far I can take it out. 1 month. Let's see if I can go to 1,000 ranges. That's not it. That's not it. Okay, we're not getting what I want here. I want to see. Okay, all. This is what I need. Okay. Yeah, this isn't really far. Well, this might work. Okay, I want to show you. We're gonna use our memory here. What was going on in December of 2001? We had so the dollar is relatively at a peak. Okay, it's relatively at a peak. It just so happens to be right near the internet peak, the internet bubble peak. It was around this area. So we get a little bit of a climb. And then what happens? We get a waterfall decline in the dollar when, we actually got a significant decline here. So shortly after the dollar, the market peaked in it was 2000, December 2000, we got a big drop, 109. We're back up a little bit. So it's treading water here. Big drop. We go back up a little bit. And then ultimately, the full message of the drop in the housing prices and in the stock market and the massive bailouts to the bank was the dollar took a drubbing. Look at that. 120 down to 80. I remember traveling around the world when the dollar was at 120. People were furious at how valuable the dollar was. You could buy anything anywhere. You could take $1,000 and just go crazy in almost any country. I was in Brazil. I was in all countries all over the world, Asia, and the dollar was so highly valued. Then it drops down to 80, and the opposite returns. But this is what I believe is going to happen again. The stock market is dropping. Let's go forward to 2010, 2011. March 2009, we're peaking out like crazy. Let's see here, 2009. Okay, we're 2010. And right here, look, same thing. Dollar drops, trundles along, doesn't do much of anything, drops. Now, this is when the stock market and everything else begins rising again. Look what happens. The dollar goes up. So I disagree with Jim Rogers. You have to check him out and validate whether or not you agree with him. I still am the biggest fan, but my opinion still stays. U.S. Treasury yield will go over 3%, and the dollar will drop significantly with the stock market. Now, we might get a little bit of a up and down, which was essentially short covering and some futures and the emerging market withdrawing itself from the dollar-denominated debt to a certain extent. But ultimately, if you go out a year, 2, 3, the dollar is going to drop significantly. What is that going to do? Gold and silver are going to rocket. Soft commodities are going to continue rising like crazy. Soft commodities are going to rise. If you got nothing else from paying attention to my videos other than to invest in some commodity funds as I predicted, as I've been mentioning, and I pointed them out to my subscribers. If you did nothing else, but you just did that, and you did that with a little bit, a reasonable amount of money, you'd absolutely crush it for the next several years. Crush it. You would do very, very well. So I think that is, let's see here. Yeah, I'm going on 45 minutes. I think I'm going to do the rest for the subscribers, but let me just say where you can find out more. And if you want to be a subscriber and learn, get some of the specifics, you would go to coinpicker.us, coinpicker.us, put in your email. That's it. I'll send you reports every now and then. I've been very, very limited reports because I just didn't think it was worth trading for the most part, but I'll be updating reports a little bit more frequently, especially as we get to a position when trading is more, I would say, more opportune. And there are better trades available. I don't like to just send out 1 or 2 trades because the problem with it is I have enough subscribers that if enough people dumped into it, it would be like an artificial boost, and I don't want that. I'd like to send out 10 or 12 trades so you can select which ones to get into. And I'm not in all of them at all by a long shot. Some of them I'm in, some of them I'm not. But I'm not, I don't want to promote my own trades at all. I really am trying to make sure that I can help other people make money, and I make my money elsewhere. But that's where you would find it. Coinpicker.us. Please like, subscribe, share, and I will see my subscribers in my subscriber section on my site. Thank you.